got an email with a good question asking about how to work more efficiently and faster in terms of property photography, stuff like that. So this guy Adam, he's saying he's got a potential shoot which is 350 miles away from him. He can only work certain days at certain times and all that kind of stuff, and he's just wondering, he's got 5 properties to shoot at this place near San Antonio or something like that. And he's just saying, Dom, is there a way that he could do it quickly and efficiently? And if I have any tips for that. So what I would say is, first of all, if you check online, you'll see pages and pages of people talking about changing metadata and double saving and extra hard drives and all that boring stuff, which doesn't really make things faster whatsoever. Okay, but here's my tips. I've got a couple of them, and I'll finish off with the most important one as well. So a simple question here: do you know of an easier, more efficient way to shoot, edit, deliver in a timely manner? Thanks for your advice or your help. So the first things first is you've got to figure out how you're going to get to this place. As you're saying, it's in Houston, Texas, and it's 350 miles away. 350 miles, that's going to take you about 6-7 hours worth of driving there. And also, once you're there, you've still got to find the actual place, find a parking space, and all that kind of stuff. So that's 7 hours there, and 7 hours back, not including stops and petrol and all that kind of stuff. Oh, what an issue. So what I would say is, if there is the ability to use some form of public transport, preferably a train, that would be good. And also then that's easy to just add that onto the cost of your work. Instead of them going, oh, how many miles did you drive? How much petrol did you use? Blah, blah, blah. Just go, here's my train ticket, pay for it now. Done. And then your return train ticket as well. And also maybe your return train ticket and the taxi fare for you to get to the actual property and back. Or if you have somebody giving you a lift as well, is always very helpful. And the reason why I would say do this is because when you're driving, you can't do anything. So that is 14 hours of not being able to do your work apart from just getting to the location. So what my advice would be is, if you can use a train or something like that, have a laptop, and then on the way back you can be editing all the photos, and by the time you're back home 7 hours later, you could have had all the photos edited and compressed and ready to be emailed out. So once you get back on the internet, beep, done, that's all sent off, and your work is done before you've even got off the train. Or, well, the train would have to have internet access, but you know what I mean. So if you've got somebody that's going to drive you there, again, that's great. You can be in the passenger seat and you can be editing away. So that's where having a laptop is very, very important. The second thing I would say is the more properties that you do, the more efficient you get. The more you walk in and you just kind of go, bang, I know this is the angle, bang, I know that's the other angle. There's no other angle here, I'm not going to fanny around, I'll go to the next room. Oh yeah, one angle here. And if the property's got some special details which are of any interest, like a nice fireplace kind of thing, you know, just get a couple of shots of that, as they won't need 15 photos of different angles and different lighting of the cornicing of a fireplace. That's not important. It's just the idea of the actual the details of a property. So the more you do, the more efficient that you get at it. Okay, that's not helping you there. The other thing is, I don't use a tripod for my photos anyway. It's just so much extra hassle, and everything is okay. It could take me an extra 30 seconds to get that tripod set up. Fine, that's 30 seconds of setting it up, another 30 seconds of putting it down, then moving it to the next place. So if I'm doing a property with 5 rooms and I'm doing 2 photos each side, it works out to almost a whole hour's worth of fanning around just because I'm trying to set up a tripod and get the angle all right. And also with a tripod, you can't really necessarily get right into the corner. So a lot of the stuff I do, I am in the corner with the camera up to my face like that, getting the shot. And because I've got the grid spacing on the actual screen on my camera, I can see, yeah, this is roughly straight. And then in editing, you can edit out any inconsistencies with either rotation or tilt very easily in Adobe Lightroom. So if you want to bring a tripod, fine, but don't bring a big ass heavy one, and most of the shots are quite happily captured. Especially if you're staying in Texas where it's nice and sunny. Unless you're planning on staying at night and you're doing like a nighttime shot and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, definitely bring a tripod, but bring a light one that you can carry around, and it's not going to be, especially if you drop it and it suddenly causes a dent in somebody's floor. Oh, that's going to be a bit of an issue to explain to the owners. So have your kit down to the bare minimum. You've got your one camera, maybe two if you think that one's getting a bit dodgy, but generally 99.9% of the time, one camera will do you absolutely fine. The one lens, usually the widest lens that you need. You don't need to be carrying 15 lenses and 2-3 camera bodies and 15 hard drives and all that crap with you, especially if you're going for a trip like this. Then once you've done all the shots, I would say, actually one of the quickest ways to get fast at it is do a walkthrough of the whole property first. So go into each room, go, right, I know the angles of this one. Go into the next room, right, I know the angles of this one. So then you're not rushing in certain rooms, and the worst thing to do is to rush a room, get the photos, do all the other stuff, go home, and then afterwards you're going, oh man, I totally forgot to take that baby chair out of that kitchen, or oh, there's a dog pen in the corner, I forgot to move that out, or oh, there's cloths hanging off the microwave, that doesn't look very good, I need to edit all that stuff. Sometimes spending that extra 2 minutes in just setting up a room and just looking around at everything can save you 6 minutes in editing afterwards. So again, we're talking about small amounts, 2 minutes here, 6 minutes there. I'm not saying you're going to save an hour, but when it's 2 minutes for each photo and 6 minutes for each photo of editing and correcting and then cloning out, that definitely adds up on the editing side. So yeah, or sometimes go around and look at it, take a photo, look at your photo, because sometimes actually being in the room, you don't see the bits which are wrong. You're like, oh yeah, the room looks fine, take a photo, and then when you look at the photo, you kind of go, oh yeah, I totally didn't see this thing which was over in the corner, because sometimes the angle's so wide, and when you're walking around, everything seems, there's so much information to take in, but once it's like 2D on the back of your camera, then you kind of go, oh, wait a minute, I need to go sort it out. So it's so much better to get the photo where you've cleaned up the room, tidied it up, moved the chairs into certain positions which are right, than trying to edit it afterwards. It's such a more efficient way to do it when you're there. The next thing I'd say is if you're then using Adobe Lightroom, which is what I use, is if you've got your one camera, your one lens, is have a preset for all your photos that you're editing. So whenever I bring in my photos, I don't know if I can show you here, but I've got a saved preset in user presets, and it's what I just call property. When I click on that, you'll see it on the develop mode. I've got exposure up a little bit, highlights down, shadows up, clarity up. I've got the tone curve. No, I haven't changed anything to tone curve. But the HSL, I play around with that, especially with the luminosity as well for certain rooms. Certainly in the kind of properties I shoot, there's a lot more magnolia, and the lights are very, very orange around here. So I try and bring the luminosity of the yellows and oranges up, but the saturation down just a touch. We're talking about fractions going on here. But if I've got this all set up beforehand, it is so quick for me to just go, stick the memory card into the memory card reader, into the computer, press import, import with settings. In fact, I'll see if I can show you that. So yeah, in the import thing here, you've got over on the right, develop settings, and I've got it as my user set of properties. So just have that set for your type of camera, your type of lens that you're using, and that will speed up the editing so much. So then all that you're really doing after that is maybe just adjusting the white balance a little bit, maybe adjusting the clarity, maybe the brightness, if you've exposed in certain different, too much or too little. And straightening and tilting. That's pretty much all that you need to do once you've done that, and that speeds it up so much faster. Also for the actual exporting, having a dedicated export setting. So if you go to export, I've got user presets here. I've got pano res and web size. So if I'm thinking I want to make a nice big panorama, I click that and that will change all the settings here. But if I'm just doing a web size, I'm going, yeah, it's 2.2 megapixels, limit file size. I've got it sharpening, and if I need to put watermark, I've got my watermarks already set up here as well. So I can change it to anything like that there. So just having these things all set up on your computer beforehand means that your editing process will be far quicker. So if you are shooting 5 properties, let's say 5 rooms, you're shooting, let's say around about 30 photos per property, and if you're doing HDR, again, having it linked in with your Adobe Lightroom is really helpful. So if you were to go, let's say you did 5 photos with slightly different variations, you've got the export and export to Photomatix Pro for the HDR stuff. So then you've got it just all in one system instead of having to export it to your hard drive, then bring it back in, all that faff. And that can really speed up the editing process as well. However, I would try and steer away from doing the HDR because that does take a lot more time in the editing, getting it to look good. It's easy to make an HDR photo, but to make it to look good is a bit more of a challenge, especially if you're dealing with pretty high contrast situations, which I'd imagine what you'd be getting in somewhere as hot and as sunny as Texas. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I can say. The last thing, the most important thing is, yes, I've said planning and the traveling, setting up your shots and all that stuff. Most important thing is large amounts of this stuff. Honestly, if you have maybe 4 or 5 cups of coffee just after or just before you go and do your shoot, time will fly. And you're like, oh. Also, having music on when you're editing, have it not like the radio or something where it may distract your attention, but having some like power rock or something. You're like, yes, editing fast makes things go so much quicker. Also, just another thing is that if you're using the Canon 5D Mark II or above with the high megapixels, again, nobody really needs a 36 megapixel image. I shoot all my stuff in RAW small, which is around about the 10 or 11 megapixels, and that is more than enough. That's more than a billboard bus size image that's required, and most of the time I'm exporting to around about 2 megapixels, especially if anybody's even using it on a web folder. 99% of the time people are asking, can you have a smaller file size so it's easier for me to upload onto their website, rather than asking, I need 1 billion pixel images. Which will just take ages for them to download off their email, or even might not even get through on their email. So yeah, have everything already preset, so you can click the buttons, and then you can just work on the angles, the tilts, and any kind of minor white balance issues that you need to work out, and then just drink loads of coffee. Just like, even if you don't like it, you know that's the rule. Nobody actually likes coffee. Just like nobody really likes smoking, but they just get addicted to it. Coffee actually makes you work so much better. Makes you like you've got superpowers if you have enough of it. That's it. You've got to get to that level of how much coffee you've had. You can probably tell I had quite a lot of coffee this morning, and that's why I've managed to do this whole video in one giant speech without looking at anything, and it's all off the cuff. And breathe. Okay, so I hope that helps, and hope. If anybody else actually has got any questions or any recommendations of how to make your work more efficient, then let me know down below. Cheers. Bye-bye.